Thank God for one more privilege to come again this one more week. As I've been doing for the last 4 years, each week we have, or each month, we try to have different topics that we deal with. And this month we felt like talking about home ownership. And my wife and I have been through a lot of process, owning a home, losing it, and owning back. So we felt like we have to come and help our audience because most people don't know the process of going to buy a house, and some people are afraid of buying a house. So I felt like having somebody who knows the in and outs. And her name is Alexis Provost.
Alexa Provost. Yes, that
Provost.
is me.
And she knows the in and out. So she gonna be for the next 4 weeks. So if you can please share the word how she gonna come on for the next 4 weeks to help us on the on all the informations of buying a house. Alexis Provost, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on today. It's a privilege.
So do you mind telling my audience who you are, as they listen to your nice voice?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Tampa, Florida, moved to Williamsburg, Virginia in 2005. I got into the lending industry about 3 years ago when I went to go buy my first house, actually. And I found through the process that it was just really, I wasn't getting the clarity and the answers that I really was looking for. It seemed like a very complicated process until I found the right loan officer. His name was Kevin Onizuk, and I now work for him. So I work for JG Wentworth Home Lending. I started as a processing assistant just to learn the industry, learn the ins and outs of the home purchase process, and found that I really, really liked it and I wanted to learn more. So I got licensed and I've been originating my own loans for about 2 years now.
So all this knowledge you have has been done in 3 years?
Yes. Yes. So I'm actually considered a rookie in the industry, a very, very young loan officer.
But just dealing with you on the process of buying our own home, it seems like you've been doing this for forever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That is certainly a compliment. It was kind of like learning through a fire hydrant, it was like a sink or swim type of education, but I'm still learning, but the knowledge that I've gained in the last 3 years has been pretty incredible.
Wow. So now, most people they barely think about owning a home, not because they cannot, but because they're afraid of the process. And most people are afraid of credit.
Yes.
When they hear the word credit, what can you tell my audience? What is credit?
So credit is typically something that we define as, I'm not sure how to define credit now that I think about it, but you would have a credit score. Most people have a credit score.
There you go.
Your credit score is what defines and determines your credit worthiness, how likely you are to borrow money and to pay it back. So the only way to establish credit for yourself is to get credit. So that would be, opening up a credit card or an auto loan, or you can even actually now have your rent report to the credit bureaus, or at least in a few of the credit bureaus. There are three main credit bureaus. You've got TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian. So just kind of an overview, you want to keep certain things in mind when you are trying to buy a house and you're trying to establish credit history. One thing is on-time payments. For every month that you're late on an auto loan or a credit card, that's going to drop your credit score.
On-time payments.
On-time payments, yes. Length of credit history. If you did not have a credit score, you were able to open up a credit card and you've only had that credit card for 3 months, you're probably going to have a very, very low credit score because there's not much information that the credit bureaus have to really make a judgment on you yet. So we typically tell folks that we like to see 1 year, a minimum of 1 year of some type of positive credit history before you should move forward in applying for a mortgage.
So somebody who's driving at the office desk and they want to know what factors must someone credit score? What factors can affect somebody's credit score?
Right, great question. So two of the things I've already covered, the length of your credit history, on-time payments, also your credit usage and number of open accounts. So for example, say I have a credit card with a $3,000 limit, or for math purposes, we'll say $1,000 limit. Okay. You never want to charge more than 30% of that limit onto 30%. The card. So you would want the balance on the card to be $300 or less, ideally, at any given point in time. So the lower your credit card balance is, again, 30% is kind of that sweet spot, that magic mark. 30% or less every month that you make good on time payments and keep that balance low. That will help in your score going up and up and up month over month. Another factor is going to be the number of collections or derogatory accounts that you have. So we've all been there. You get that medical bill in the mail after surgery or an accident, and the hospital says that you owe them $9,000. And you're thinking, I can't possibly pay that. A lot of people can't. What a lot of people don't know is that if you give them something, just pay them $5 a month, $10 a month, anything to keep that bill out of collections. Because once that creditor, whether that's a hospital or a doctor's office or what have you, sends that bill to collections, that's going to show up as a derogatory mark, which will drop your credit score. Even after you've paid that bill off entirely, once it's on your credit report as a collections account, it will not be removed until you physically write in writing. You have to send a letter to the credit bureaus once the account is paid in full and request that they remove that account completely. So that is something that I actually...
So when you say like a 30% of credit card or any credit, like if you have some stores give you some credit card line?
Exactly.
Same process.
Yep, same. So any line of credit. That obviously would not apply to what's called an installment loan. That would be like an auto loan where you start with the main balance and then you just pay it off.
Okay.
Another thing to keep in mind to help your credit score go up and stay up is once you have paid a credit card off, do not close out the credit card. Yes, leave it open. Leave it open and leave a small balance or no balance on the card. It might seem counterintuitive, but canceling a credit card or closing a credit card out will actually really drop your credit score substantially. It is true.
Honestly, would that make that's just...
I had a customer just last month and she had about 5 credit cards and said, you know what, I don't need all these. Most of them were store cards. I don't need all these store cards. So she applied. Her credit score was, I think, 700, something like that. She closed out 2 store cards and her score dropped to a 650.
Wow.
Yes. So we tell folks that any line of credit that you get approved for, once you open it and you establish that line of credit, you want to try to leave it open.
So now you said that if you have some debt or inaccurate information, to write a letter to the credit to report.
For all collections accounts, yes. Say you pay off your collections account, it'll have a 0 balance on your credit report, but it's still on there as a collections item. So that's a service that I actually provide for my customers. I can assist in writing those letters. I have some template letters.
Yeah.
And once we send those to the credit bureaus, they legally have to take action within 30 days. That's why you want to write them and not try to call them or submit something online. If you send them a letter, they legally have to take some type of action within 30 days.
Most people are afraid of collectors, afraid of even having communication line with people because they figure they own them. So
that's true.
Yeah.
Collectors are not these big scary monsters that so many people think they are. I've had collectors call me. I'm certainly not perfect. I've had medical bills go to collections, and it's so funny. Once I actually just got over my fear of talking with them and actually looking the problem, square in the eye, they typically will come up with very, very reasonable solutions, whether that's a monthly payment or settling the debt. They're very, very willing to work with you. So sometimes it's not quite as bad as people.
Now, for somebody who's out there who never heard of credit score, never even worried about, never even thought about it, how can someone go about establishing a credit?
Great question. So if you do not have any credit and you're looking to establish some credit for yourself, my first suggestion would be to try to open up a small credit card. There are lots of different credit card carriers that cater specifically to people who don't have any credit history. So Fingerhut, which is actually kind of an old school, used to be like a catalog credit card type of company. They are still around. You can go to fingerhut.com, and that's typically if you do not have any established credit history, Fingerhut would be a good place to start. Sometimes even the larger carriers like Capital One, MasterCard, Visa, they will have specific credit cards designed for people that are low risk in trying to establish credit. A lot of times they'll start you out with a credit line of $300. So they're not putting their neck on the line for someone that they don't know has the ability to pay them back.
So basically, to start a credit line is to start a credit card.
Yes.
Is that the only way, or there are many other options?
It is not the only way. There is also a website where you can sign up to have your rent payments each month, if you are renting, report to TransUnion. And even if just one credit bureau, TransUnion is one of the three, is taking that information, they will generate a credit score on you. Ideally, eventually, you would like to have a credit score with all three credit bureaus, because for mortgage purposes, we typically take the median score. If we only have one score to go off of, again, we don't have that much information. But if we've got three scores to go off of, we throw out the highest, we throw out the lowest, and we take the median score. And it gives us more information to make a judgment on.
So basically, it's all about credit.
It's not all about credit. That is one of the main factors in getting pre-approved for a mortgage is your credit score and credit history. Another equally important factor is your affordability. Affordability, and we define affordability as your monthly debts stacked up against your monthly income. Those debts, we only take things into consideration that report to credit. So we don't look at your cell phone bill, we don't look at your utility bills, or sometimes we look at childcare expenses, something of that nature. That's a large recurring expense. But your bills on credit stacked up against your gross monthly income is how we generate what's called a debt to income ratio. And every single loan program has different limits, allowable limits on debt to income ratio. So that's about 50% of the equation, and credit is the other 50% of the equation.
Oh, so you're going to add up somebody's total debt compared to his income.
Correct.
And see if still you can afford it.
Correct. And that's how we define affordability. Typically, we are looking at 45% or less. We would like debt to income ratios for most loan programs to be 45% or less.
To my audience, this is a lot of information, and I encourage you guys to call in to get a tape, because information is power. Knowledge is power.
That's right.
I have been renting for the longest until I met her. She helped us to get out from renting to owning. There's nothing wrong with renting, but as you are renting, like I told you earlier, as you're renting, you are paying somebody else's mortgage, and you are making somebody else wealthy. So why not make yourself wealthy by owning a house? And just talked about credit. So next week we're gonna pick up on different topic, still talking about owning a house. I encourage you guys, if you guys are renting or you guys thinking about owning a house, stay tuned next week as we're going to pick up on the process of purchasing a house. Now we talked about your credit. Call in and get a tape to get more information. On the credit. Until next time, God bless and stay tuned, and bye-bye.